Should you have a backup plan? Backup plan, plan B. Is it a good thing to have a backup plan? Is it a bad thing to have a backup plan? You hear people talk all the time about, well, when you want to go do something new, you better have a backup plan just in case your primary plan doesn't work out, right? I'm here to share my thoughts on plan A, backup plan B, and what is really the best thing that anybody can do. So, welcome to Goose Pond Hideout. I'm Rob, and we're on the back porch today because it's kind of rainy out and the wind's blowing. And I don't mind being out in the rain, but I didn't want my camera to be getting rained on out there. So, we're here on the back porch. So, a backup plan, a plan B. Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it good? Is it bad? I'm going to share what I think about it and the choices that I've made in my life. So hopefully help you, make the plan A, plan B, backup plan choices for your life. So, been thinking about it, and in my opinion, if you have a backup plan, you're kind of letting yourself off the hook for your primary plan. And, the backup plan ends up becoming an obstacle in your way of doing your primary plan. And, what am I talking about there? Is if you have plan A, the thing that you want to do, and you give yourself an out by saying, well, if that doesn't work out, then I'm going to have my plan B backup plan. You might as well just make that your goal, your plan, because that's just the way that our brains work. So, many years ago, I lived in the Midwest, and we decided to move to Maine, and that was my plan. My plan A was to move to Maine and start a business there. So I had no relatives there, and we made a backup, plan of nothing. We just loaded up our belongings into a rental truck, and we just drove out to Maine, and then we looked for a place to rent, and we ended up renting, a townhouse right away. We just found what we could find. And then, while living in the townhouse for a year, I got my business going. And that was it. I had my blinders on. This is my plan A. Load up everything that we own, move from the Midwest to Maine, find a place to live, and start my business. And I had no backup plan. Then, when we decided to move to our homestead, where I'm standing right now, we moved off the boat, and we just started looking for a place. And we knew we had, our goal of we wanted to stay in the southern climates. And, we had a few other requirements of things that we were looking for. And then, so we found this place. And we actually found this place, and then we kept looking for about 6 months. And we ended up coming back to the first place that we looked at. And again, if I'd have had a backup plan, if I'd have said, like when you're moving from point A to point B, and you say you're looking for your homestead or a sailboat or an RV or whatever, and if you have a backup plan that, well, if it doesn't work out, then we'll go live with our parents for a while, or we'll just stay where we are. So you're looking for your homestead, your primary plan, and everything you're looking at is too expensive, or it's too far away from where you want to live, or it's not, the house isn't big enough, or you have all these things that you kept finding excuses for why you can't do your plan A, and then you just say, well, I'll just buy some books on homesteading and read up on it and study, and we'll grow some tomatoes and peppers in pots on the porch, and that'll be our plan. And then we'll look again in another year or two. And that's what happens is your backup plan becomes an obstacle to your true plan. Ooh, excuse me. And then so you never actually do that. And one of my favorite quotes by Ray Bradbury is jump off the cliff and build your wings on the way down. And that's always been the way I've lived my life with, moving to Maine, moving on the sailboat, moving to here is I just put my blinders on to the goal that I want, and then I don't let anything, get in the way of that. And I make the compromises as necessary so that I can do that plan. And that's the kind of thing that I want you to do, that I want you to be thinking about, is don't let obstacles get in the way of your goal. When you're driving your motorcycle down the curvy road, going faster than the speed limit, you look ahead to where you want to go. If you look down into the ditch, that's where you're going to end up. And it's the same thing. I'm a burn the bridge. Plan A, here we go. Pack up all your belongings and head on down the highway. And there's no going back because you've burned the bridge behind you. You're committed to that goal. And that's how you accomplish what you really want to do. That's how you find your freedom, how you find your happiness, the flexibility to do what you want to do in your life is by putting those blinders on and looking ahead. And like, for example, when we bought the sailboat, I paid more for it than I wanted to pay, but the goal was to be on the sailboat. And then we actually sold it for less than we paid for it, but we really wanted to be, on this homestead. And the thing is, we did get a good deal on this homestead 11 years ago. And today, for what it's actually worth 3 times what we paid for it, because the real estate, has gone crazy at this time. How things have gone, everything, inflation and that, everything has gone up sky high. Not that that means anything, because it's just a number on a piece of paper. I mean, we live here. It doesn't matter if it's worth $10,000 or $1 million, because it's nothing we can do about it. It's just our home now. But that's the thing. If sometimes you've got to think outside the normal realities, and maybe you're going to pay a little more for something than everybody says that, well, that's property is not really worth that kind of money. But if it's going to be your home, if it's going to where you're going to live possibly for the rest of your life, what does it really matter what it costs? And maybe you can find a better deal. But if you wait, if you put it off, if you do that one more year thing, life's just passing you by. So, you want to do your plan A, you want to put your blinders on, you want to figure out your goal, and forget backup plan, because it's just the way our brain works. It's just going to be an obstacle for you doing what you really want to do. And that's what I want for you. I want you to do what you really want to do. I want you to jump off the cliff and build your wings on the way down. If you want to travel the country in an RV, just say that's what you're going to do, and find that RV and get in it and go, and worry about figuring out the details as you go along. We didn't know anything about living on a sailboat when we moved onto it. I had experience with little boats, little sunfish, little tiny sailboats, and little, the little Hobie catamarans and things, but I had never lived or sailed on a big sailboat. I just was like, I'll figure it out as I go, right? Just put me out there in the ocean and turn me loose, and we'll figure it out. When we moved on to our homestead here, now granted, I had farming experience and being outdoors and gardens and trees and bushes and plants and things like that, growing crops and everything. So, I mean, that's my family background. So I did have that going for me when we moved here. But, still building the coops and getting chickens and now with the guineas and the geese and things and getting the garden started. It was all, even though I had knowledge of how to do it, doing it in this environment and this homestead, it still was a learning curve that every year you kind of learn something new, and you just can't wait. And so if you have that backup plan of, well, I don't know, that doesn't work out, what am I going to do? I don't want to be living in my parents' basements, but just burn the bridge, go for what you want to go for, and turn off the outside noise of all the people saying, no, you can't do that, or that's the wrong thing to do, or just go for it. Do what you want to do, because that's how you find your freedom.